All right, let's switch over to a studio that actually is really struggling, and WB here. I guess let's just first start. Ezra Miller is getting help, apparently. I think the latest rumor is he's in like a rehab facility center. He's reportedly talked to WB executives, released a statement. I don't have that statement here, but what are your thoughts on all this? Why look for that statement?
Well, yeah, like he is, or excuse me, they are finally getting help, which is good because they clearly are going through some things these past 2 years. But um, from what I read about it, it didn't feel almost authentic. By the sounds of the reports that I saw, they went to apologize to like the heads of WB because they finally heard that the movie has the potential of being just scrapped completely. And to me, that doesn't feel like they were apologizing for what they've been doing and the headlines that they've been having as a result of it, but and the consequences and the people that they've hurt, but rather they're worried that their big movie wasn't going to be released, and um, that just felt a little gross to me. So, is the apology really authentic? I have no idea of knowing. It's a blurb that maybe them or their publicist wrote for them and just released out there, but at least it's possible that they're going to be seeking help regardless. So good news. Maybe we won't be seeing them in the headlines with a bunch of really messed up things surrounding it. But I don't know. It just makes me even more ready to move on from this version of the Flash. I was already ready for that to begin with. After everything involving Snyder's run with the DCEU and it just not working out. Was ready for a change to begin with, but and I just am ready even more so now because it just all that stuff is messed up that they did, and it just doesn't really feel authentic to me right now. But maybe time will change, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, so he let's see here. He said, having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun undergoing treatment. Miller says, I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, productive stage in my life. He said that. That's from Variety. Um, and then THR, you're right, reported that uh, he didn't really care about the press he was getting until he heard that the film might be scrapped, and then he wanted to make amends because he was really proud of the movie. Um, yeah, I don't. You never know with these cases if it's genuine or not, unless it's always easier when you're watching a podcast clip or something. I just recently, John Bernthal's got a podcast, and he just recently had Shia LaBeouf on, and I saw some clips of it, and
Mm.
they were talking about a lot of this. Maybe we should talk about the "Don't Worry, Darling" stuff too. Oh my goodness, we should talk about that. I'm adding
Yeah,
that to the notes right now. Uh,
yeah, we could do
but
that.
they were talking about the "Don't Worry, Darling" situation that's all breaking around right now, and it's a little bit easier to tell if somebody's genuine, even if they are actors, But yeah, I don't know if he's genuine. I hope it's genuine. I hope he's getting the help. Apparently, we'll transition in this too. Apparently, the Flash is testing great. Apparently, their screen tests are going incredible. Apparently, the rumor is it's some of the highest rated tests ever. Now, I know you giggle over there because you don't take any stock in this, but I believe these are not like the execs are watching and testing,
Yeah.
right? These are the actual tests. Every movie goes through test audiences. There's not a
Mhm.
movie made that doesn't go through test audiences. And they do get scores, and those are important. And good movies have scored good, and bad movies have scored bad. We've seen some outliers here and there, but if you're doing a bunch of tests and the movie's scoring high, and you're this new Zazzy boy coming in and taking over WB and you're ruining everything, he's probably going to end up releasing this movie. I don't see why they would scrap it, to be honest, especially if it's testing high. I think people will still go see it. I think most of the common folk can separate the art from the artist very easily. There's a group of people who obviously don't, but Yeah, this is it's an interesting situation. You got other thoughts here?
Well, I always imagined that scrapping the project entirely was a last ditch effort. This movie did cost a lot to make because of its reshoots, at least from what I've heard. But um, it does add clarity to why we haven't heard an announcement of this movie not being released in theaters, only going to streaming, or just being scrapped entirely. Because they probably have had these tests for a while now, saying that the audiences that we tested this movie on say that it's really good, or that they really liked it at least, and we think that we'll have the confidence to uh, be able to make a lot of money. So it doesn't. I mean, just how high it was testing. Like apparently, it's the same sort of scores that like the Dark Knight trilogy was getting, which I don't know what that number means or like what the sounds in those testing rooms mean exactly, but there is a reason why they're not that they're waiting to release this movie, and I believe it's being released next year. I mean, we'll see how that goes. This movie has been
Yeah,
pushed
they've
back
pushed
now
pushed
forever.
everything back again. There's only 3 WB movies coming out now this year.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Crazy
that
because of their
also
tax
is
issue.
yeah. Which at this point I guess isn't surprising, hearing all the reports going around with WB and that sort of stuff. But anyway, when it comes to the Flash movie, that is like my reasoning for why they haven't made any big decision about like removing it from a release slate or anything. And if these testing numbers are as good as they're saying they are, then yeah, that makes sense why. So it's not too surprising, but um, hopefully things quiet down now and we can finally have this movie stick to its release date, because this project has been like 10 years in the making now with the same
Oh
actor
yeah, this
probably.
movie's been
So
through so
like
much development hell.
yeah, 5 different directors, like 3 or 4 different writers, if I'm
Then they
just
scrapped
off the
that
top of my
script
head.
though. They didn't, I believe they scrapped the original script by the first couple writers, and then Ezra wrote this whole new script. That is apparently what is actually happened. And then I thought somebody else was brought on to change that.
I remember the directors of Game Night were gonna write and direct it, and then all of a sudden Ezra was like, "But I made a darker script. Look at this script." And for some reason WB was actually like listening to what Ezra was saying, and not like, the directors and writers whose job it is to do that. And that's what made the Game Night guys leave, and then they brought in Andy Muschietti. But that's the last that I heard. I don't know if it is Ezra's script. I don't know if it's Andy Muschietti's script, or maybe it's the game writer's script, and
Mix
they
of all of it.
yeah, maybe it's a mixture of all. I have no idea, but um yeah, I do remember that report now, and I remember kind of being annoyed by it. Just like, really? Like, I mean, Ezra's a good act, and this was like before all this allegations and whatnot were coming out about them. But I was like, really, you're gonna die on the hill for him to be writing his own script instead of letting actual writers and directors work on it? But
So
I
the
don't know,
actual
man.
writer on IMDb for this movie is Christina Hudson, who wrote Birds of Prey, wrote Bumblebee, which are 2 great scripts. That is who is listed as the actual writer, with the story by Joby Harold, who created Obi-Wan, Edge of Tomorrow, John Wick, was like a producer on those, not writers, but producers on those. He created the
Hmm.
story. So that's a good pairing to me if that's who they actually went with here. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean I'm gonna see this movie just because I gotta see what all the fuss is about when it comes out. But I do hope Ezra's getting help. But maybe new Kevin's coming in to fix it. Let's transition to that real quick here. So
Oh,
apparently,
new
rumor
Kevin.
is he's in talks. We got a new Kevin, we got a new Bob, we're getting a new Kevin. So it's Dan Lin who is in talks to become the head of DC. Um, Dan Lin has been a producer in Hollywood for a long time. Some big things are the Lego movies, all 3 of them. He produced, let's see here. Didn't he produce? He produced Godzilla versus Kong, which is a great movie. He produced
Other
all the
things
Godzilla. He
include The
produced
Departed.
Aladdin. Ooh, The Departed. Just rewatched that. It Chapter 1 and 2, which are great. And there's also the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., Terminator Salvation. That's gross. Yeah, The Departed. So look here, Danny boy. Okay, there's a clip going around of him. Have you heard this clip from a podcast
No,
or an interview?
I have no idea. No, what is it?
He reportedly, if I remember correctly, was interested in the job of taking over DC, which I believe that's Kevin Tsuchihara right now. Right, is the head of that division.
Walter Amada.
Walter Amada. So he's going to be transitioned out, right? And when Walter was
Mhm.
hired, apparently Danny Boy wanted the spot. And in this clip, somebody made a comment on this podcast or whatever and was like, "Oh, would you have gone with Snyder?" And he kind of like giggles. He goes, "No." He kind of says something like that or something. And apparently he's got big plans. So again,
10-year plans.
well, that's what WB says. That's what Zazzy Boy
Yeah,
says.
yeah.
But if you're smart as a producer, you tell them what they want to hear, but you don't make a 10-year plan. Okay? You don't do that. You don't outline 10 years of movies. You outline
Make
your
it
first
one.
good movie. Maybe make
Yeah.
one good movie, At the very most, I'll give you a year of movies worth. That's probably two, unless you're Marvel, who pumps out 15 now. But uh look, he's produced some great stuff. There's some good stuff in there. Some of those movies are not I like the Godzilla movies. I like. A lot of people don't like them. They're not great stories, things like that. He hasn't been on the other DC projects, really outside of the Lego stuff. So that actually for me is a bonus. I think you don't want somebody connected to anything you've done before DC. Um, and I wonder if he is in talks. My guess is his pitch was great. And I bet you the things that Zazzy Boy's asking, how do we fix? You're going to be our Kevin Feige. How do we fix the DC universe? And my guess is he had the best pitch of how to fix it. Uh, you know, they've
Yeah.
signed Matt Reeves up. He's got a partner he's writing now the second Batman with. That was a good start. Did he write the first Batman by himself? A little side thing here.
Pretty sure. That's what I remember.
Oh, so they don't have faith in him, is what you're saying. Bringing in somebody else, you don't have faith. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a little weird that they brought in a writing partner, but let's double check that to make sure we're not.
He wrote it with Peter Craig.
Oh,
He
so is
wrote
this
it
a
the
different
first one
guy
with
then?
Peter Craig, who made the story for Top Gun Maverick, helped with the script for the Batman. Yeah, I don't know if this is a different guy or not. Let's see here. It's probably going to be up
Good thing we
on.
did our research on the podcast.
Who gives a crap? Let's see.
No, it's
They got
authentic. It's
no
more in the
info on
moment.
IMDb. Yeah, he's writing it with another dude. I mean, if he wrote it by himself, I think there's a little bit of hesitation when you suddenly have a writing partner. But if he wrote it with somebody else and he's getting a different partner, I don't think that's a big deal. Um, what do you think about the new head, the possible new Kevin
Um.
Feige?
Oh well, obviously they finally got the guy. He's the guy. He's new Kevin. Lock it up now. no.
My God,
No. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure. He clearly just has a lot of expertise in the industry. Obviously, he's done many good things as a producer, many good projects, and I'm sure if I look deeper into his filmography, there's some stinkers in there as well. That's just the thing when it comes to these. Not, every person in the industry is going to have something great and amazing constantly on their resume. There's always going to be some stinkers. So, all I have to really say is I hope he does a really good job, and I hope that we get off to a great new start. But um, you can list the credentials of all these people all you want, but it doesn't, sway me on if this is the guy, this is the choice. Because, Walter Hamada was also the guy and a good choice. And, sometimes changes happen and sometimes things don't work out. You just never know. So, um, he's not exactly Kevin Feige. He doesn't probably know everything about the DC comics or about every into like the deep lore of everything, but at least he has some business sense and at least he's been around Warner Bros. And been seeing the superhero landscape to where he probably could have good ideas and he probably could have good ways of switching up and moving away from the previous regimes that we've been seeing. So hopefully he does a good job. But you just never know with producers or just most people in Hollywood that, they have some good things and they have some bad things. And we just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see how things progress. But like you were
So
saying,
real
Alex,
quick,
just make one good movie, then move on, go make another good movie, and we'll see how things trickle out from there.
so he's writing it with Mattson Tomlin, who wrote
Okay.
this movie called The Sea Beast, an animated movie. He was a story consultant. He wrote this movie called Mother Android, never heard of. This movie called Little
Hmm.
Fish, never heard of. He wrote Power Project, which came out a couple years ago with Jamie Foxx. I believe it was a Netflix film, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Everything else is short screenplays, stuff I've never heard of. So maybe he's a friend of Matt Reeves. We don't really know how, but I'm not too worried about that. With Reeves at the helm, it'll be all right. Yeah, you're right. Make a good film. That's what matters. It doesn't matter who's in charge if you make a good film. And we don't need a DC extended universe anymore. We don't. We don't need it. People, there's a big fan group who's done with Marvel. It feels like they hate everything Marvel puts out, but Black Panther will bring them right back in because that trailer in front of 3 years of longing
Whew.
looked incredible again.